Okay, folks. The reason I think this is risky for me to post this now I'm getting an answer soon about working with families, and it's work I would really enjoy. It would get me to back off from my vlogs about the human condition, and not that it's not important. It's just that I've said many times that when I was born, the tipping points, the social tipping points, not just the industrial economies or war, industrial complex or ecological, chemical, biodiversity, ecological forces had already been disturbed or set into place in a way that could not deviate anymore. Like I said before I was born, many tipping points had already been passed. Now this sounds like a lack of hope, but again, I'm going by data. So let's say, the people like politicians, and they could easily be convinced, politicians, by the you know anti-life oil industry representative that, yeah, oh no, you have to give them hope, is we're this close to have technology where we can capture carbon. Well, I mean, the technology was there before our species came in. It's called a tree again. So if we keep planting trees and stop cutting trees, and therefore shut down industries that is going to capture carbon, when we're still not even talking about reducing our numbers so we don't have to, you know, do industries that is going to profit the elites, but really it's just a way to kind of accelerate the Anthropocene, because it still doesn't talk about the right thing. It is not hopeful at all to not prepare your kids. I've written and I've read that letter in my course, Master of Science, Ecocentric Worldview. I've read the letter, 4 pages of what I wrote to British Columbia's Ministry of Advanced Education about how cruel it is that we are not educating our kids in the right things. We're actually doing anti-education right now, so it's not just not the right things. It's devolving the mind even more. It's almost like our species is part of a collective unconscious where it knows that now what it wants to do is become deer in headlights, that is clueless about the Anthropocene. So again, there's no hope in that. The hope is preparing the next generation, but you can't keep having more kids for the next generation. You can't keep doing industries, even if it's industries that may or may not make a dent in carbon capture. Plant trees, people. That should be all of your vacations. Go in places not that far away from where you live and have family and neighborly and community vacations where you plant trees, and go back and visit those trees and nurture each other's trees and stay in touch on the internet. How's that tree doing? How's that section we built? That's what human behavior would be. Politicians today don't realize, including the ones who have the best intentions, because they're still not talking about the right things or exposing the right people or things, right? Sometimes they say, well, we don't want to disrupt our own government, but I do know that somebody in my government, is working more towards, facilitating the oil industry in my country, whatever it is. You're the bad guys. You are already living at a stage in history where you are this close. You don't realize how close you are. That in most countries of the world, where a group of people will have had enough. Not scientists, they're not. They think just writing a report that is intense is enough for their conscience, but you will eventually have people go and grab politicians and take them out and strap them down. And I'm not saying they should be hung or killed, but I mean they're going to be imprisoned in some way. They're going to be like, your hands are tied down. You have to admit the truth, and you're not going back in your position. But we will free you when you admit that you have facilitated business as usual to the point that the tipping points have passed. So I don't recommend people even become politicians right now, because it's going to be nasty. And imagine in the news when this happens one place. It could be in a Western country, right, where people have had enough, and it might be on all sorts of issues that are social, because as a species we are unable to reference the biosphere itself that we require for survival. It might just be my family or this industry or the labor force or whatever it is, or medical system or whatever it is. The elites, there's no place to hide, whether you're in politics or you're on a desert island or whatever it is. I mean, there are people with resources that will allow people to go get you on your desert island and take you out and film. And it's not like a hostage situation, or it shouldn't be that there's violence, but it'll be like, no, you're going to come out and we're going to tie you down and film a video, and it's only when you admit you're the bad guy. And that's what you got to do. Now imagine when this happens in one country. It'll be an acceleration of every country, including the ones you would never think this would happen. Oh, we're so civilized here. We didn't think this was going to happen. But you know, the Anthropocene is the Anthropocene, folks. I'm not making this stuff up.